Greetings everyone and welcome to the first edition of the Namazu News, a new series I'm going to try to do occasionally where I cover recent events in 14, usually in the form of actual news updates, to try and help you stay informed. And for this first edition, we actually have quite a few things to talk about because not only are we in a new expansion, but also Yoshi-P has been doing a lot of interviews talking about things that will be coming in the future or that they're actively trying to work on. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of those interviews, let's first talk about the biggest update that is going to affect many people, and that is the fact that we have gotten an update on the whole visa issues. So for those that don't know, for some time now, people have been having issues trying to redo their subscriptions or buying the game. Basically anything involving Final Fantasy XIV, people have been unable to use their debit cards or their credit cards or etc., specifically in the form of visas. And a lot of people haven't been able to renew their subscriptions because of this. And we finally received a somewhat definitive update in regards to it. Specifically, there was a Lodestone post just the other day that revealed they were implementing a fix on Tuesday, July 23rd, after a brief maintenance period. So if you've been having issues with your payment method, hopefully this update coming on the 23rd is going to solve your issues and you won't have to worry about this unfortunate circumstance any longer. But with that big piece of news out of the way, let's get into these interviews and talk about some of the things that Yoshi-P has revealed and or hinted at. And we're going to start with a small and end on the big, and part of the reason for that is I want to make the joke with the first thing we're talking about, which is the Lalafell Piggyback mount. So in recent years, there's been increased talk about wanting to have a mount that lets Lalafells ride on your back, and Yoshi-P was asked this question in his recent interviews and noted that this is a request they've actually been receiving all across the world, and because of that, they've actually begun to consider implementing it, talking about how they would have to introduce new systems, and they've actually began to consider these systems already. One such example that he gave of how this would work is that they would have to implement a checkbox for players who are playing a large-sized race, such as a Rogadin, where once a Lalafell wants to ride them, they would get a notification. Do you want a Lalafell to ride on your shoulders? And if you were to allow them, they'd be able to do so. So the fact that they're considering systems for this actually means that we might be getting it in the future, which is funny to think about. But that's basically it in regards to that. It's a lot of, we're thinking about it. Well, we might be implementing it, but that's all we're going to say for now. Moving on to our next thing that might happen, but that's very much in the air. Yoshi-P was asked about a potential Kingdom Hearts crossover, to which he responded he would be more than happy to do so. However, that is all in the hands of Disney, which, yeah, that makes sense. If you know anything about Kingdom Hearts, specifically like the journey that Sakurai, the Smash creator, had to go through to get Sora into Smash Brothers, it was not an easy endeavor. It took many years, and it's just working with Disney and trying to get Disney to allow things like this to happen can be very difficult. And while it is likely easier for Yoshi-P than it would be for Sakurai, because Square does have that relationship with Disney, getting Disney to work with you is in itself a difficult thing. So while Yoshi-P did say it's a possibility that it might happen if Disney works with us, it's very much in the air because Disney working with them, but it's a possibility in the future. So that's something to maybe look forward to in the future. Maybe when the next Kingdom Hearts comes around and they want to do some promoting, maybe it appear in 14. We don't know. Again, Disney. Moving on to another maybe and possibly it might happen, might not happen. Yoshi-P, as always, every interview he has to do this question, was asked about glamour, everything from glamour plates to the glamour dresser. And while a lot of it was just the repeat answer that he gives, like, we're working on it, we're going to try, please, bear with us. Probably the most interesting little detail that he gave with this is, one of the questions was, what about putting extra things into the armoire? To which Yoshi-P responded, job gear, maybe. So it's possible that in the future, we might start to be able to put our artifact gear, which is the gear sets that you get at every level threshold, in the armoire like we do with the, level 50 gear. And I think that would make a lot of people happy. It would free up a lot of space in the glamour dresser if they did end up doing that. But again, this is no definitive answer. He just said it's possible, but it's something to look forward to. Moving on to more little definitive details that Yoshi-P has given us. we have our first real hint at the cosmic exploration. Specifically, Yoshi-P was asked if we would ever be able to, go beyond with certain characters, obviously hinting, oh, can we ever romance the characters? To which she basically responded that while we love that you enjoy our characters so much, we do have to keep the story in mind. And from there, he went on to basically say that they're going to try to do more character quest lines, at which point he very much hinted that Estinian will likely be showing up in the cosmic exploration zone, saying that Estinian is going to be exploring different planets. And so if you're a big fan of Estinian, you might be wanting to pay closer attention to that cosmic exploration, because it does very much look like he might be involved within it. But moving on from that interview, let's talk about another he did, where he was asked about rewards. So in this interview, Yoshi-P basically said that they want to drastically increase the number of things that players are going to be receiving, specifically from the periods of 7.1 to 7.3. They also noted their failures in Endwalker, noting that while the dev team racked their brains to create several new types of content in Dawntrail-like variant dungeons, they admit that they just didn't have the rewards to attract enough people to these pieces of content. They didn't have the carrot to interest players, and they noted that they want to change this going forward. They want to make it so there are rewards to have people try content that they've never done before. They want people, doing the content that they're making. This philosophy of increasing the amount of rewards they're giving to players is a good one going forward. We can already kind of see this at the really beginning of Dawntrail. There's like 2 more mounts than we normally get at a expansion release. Obviously, there's the new mini Gilsync mount in the cycle, and then there's like the script mount that you can get with orange scripts. So going forward, I really do feel like this is going to be a very fun expansion for farming content to get, mounts, glamours, etc., because, they're saying they want to give us more carrots to work towards. And it's in the same interview that Yoshi-P goes on to talk about one of the big things that is likely going to entice us throughout the expansion, and that is the new adventure foray. Now, he doesn't go into any details about things that are going to be happening in our new adventure zone, but he does talk about the philosophy and the ideas they're going into creating this new adventure zone. Specifically, he notes that the dev team is looking for the best aspects of Bozja and the best aspects of Eureka, and trying to combine those together while also avoiding the pitfalls that both fell into. And for me, I personally hope that it's basically just Bozja with the replayability of Eureka. I want all like the funny little items you can get from Eureka. I want the new exploration zone to just have people like, oh, crab's up, gotta go, sit and wait for this farm and help build it. And I think that's one of the reasons that Eureka is so replayable. And at the same vein, keep the great leveling tool that is Bozja and implement it into this new one. That's my hopes for what they're going to try and keep, other than the combat and things like that. I think it's all going to be great. But beyond them talking about what they want to do and having it be the best of both Bozja and Eureka, we don't get much more detail than that, other than receiving the planned release, which is going to be 7.2. And like Bozja and Eureka, it is something they plan on updating throughout the expansion. So while it is coming in 0.2, it's going to have more updates as we go through. And going on to the last big thing in these interviews, actually going back to the previous interview, he was asked about dungeons and, how they're very similar and do they plan on changing them. And if you watched Preach's interview in the media tour, he was asked this very same question, to which Yoshi-P basically responded that it's a difficult subject, because for every group of people that want us to change it, there's another group that doesn't want us to change it. And let's be honest, the unfortunate fact is that if a dungeon takes too long, or doesn't let you wall to wall, or does anything that isn't outside of the normal where you just can't, speedrun it, people are always upset with it. And that's kind of an unfortunate consequence of roulettes is, oh, I get this in my roulette, I just want to get it over and done with. And so I kind of agree with them that no matter what they do, no one's going to be happy. If they change the formula, people aren't going to be happy. If they don't change the formula, people aren't going to be happy. And so it's a difficult, situation. And that's why I think variant dungeons are such a good addition to the game. But the most interesting thing to come from any of these interviews was something that I don't think anyone expected, and that is that Yoshi-P said, and I quote, "We are starting our attempts to create a 24-man Savage," and that is incredibly interesting. Because we don't have that. The closest example is things like BA and DRS, which are more than 24 man, and they're tied to the field operations that have unique aspects of it and things like that. And to be fair, he does go on immediately after that to talk about the new field operations, or the new Bozja and Eureka. And so it's possible that this new 24-man Savage, he might just be referring to the next Baldissian Arceal, the next Delibram Regine Savage, but him saying we are starting our attempts to create a 24-man Savage. Neither of those are 24-man, so it really does seem like he's talking about a 24-man Savage Alliance raid. And here's the thing, we don't know more beyond the fact that they're just attempting to make it. For all we know, it could be a Savage version of the Alliance raid that they're releasing, which would be the 11 Alliance raids, or maybe they're going to give it the ultimate treatment where they take one of the old ones and make it more difficult. But for now, all we can do is speculate. We really don't know more than they're working on it. But with that, we come to the end of our first edition of the Namazu news. Now, please let me know in the comments if you like this type of video and you want me to do more of them. And that being said, this isn't going to be a weekly thing. It's more so like, oh, there's a lot of news that is happening right now. Here's a video to kind of archive everything that's going on so you can know. That's kind of what I want this to be. But let me know if you want that. And if you do, I'll definitely try to make more of them. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you like the video, please like it. If you enjoy the channel, subscribe. If you want to check out some of my other videos, I have a variety of different guides, with my most popular being my Blue Mage ones, which one should be in the corner right now. With that being said, thanks for watching, and I wish you the best on your 14 journey.